You're dealing with a dog bite case in Maryland, and you figured out who owns the dog. But here's the problem. That might not be enough. Maybe the dog was with a family member, or at a friend's house, or in the care of a business. And you're stuck wondering who else can actually be held liable for this injury. I'm Bobby Zirkin, a personal injury attorney here in Maryland. I've handled cases just like this, hundreds of cases for over 2 decades. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how Maryland law works when it comes to non-owners, including landlords, property managers, and anyone else who might share legal responsibility for a dog bite. It's important so that you can figure out who's really on the hook and make sure that you don't miss your window to act. The dog's owner isn't the only one who might be liable. Maybe it's you, a family member, or your child who was bitten. The first thought that comes to mind is, the owner is responsible, right? And yes, in most cases, the owner is responsible under Maryland law. But here's something that most people don't realize. The owner isn't always the only one who can be held liable when a dog bites someone. The person who was in control of the dog. Let's talk about who had control of the dog at the time of the bite. This could be a dog walker, pet sitter, a family friend, or even a neighbor. In Maryland, anyone who harbors or controls a dog can be held liable if that dog hurts someone. For example, say your friend is watching their neighbor's dog for the weekend. If that dog bites someone while your friend is in charge, your friend could be legally responsible even though they don't actually own the dog. The courts look at who had direct control of the animal when the bite happened, and not just the name on the veterinarian records. This also happens with professional dog walkers or pet sitters. If a dog walker takes several dogs to the park and one bites another person, the walker might share in the liability. The reason is simple. Maryland law expects the person in control to manage the dog safely and prevent it from hurting others, just like an owner. If they fail, they could be on the hook for damages. Even if your neighbor says, "I'm just the sitter," that doesn't necessarily get them off the hook. If they could have and should have prevented the bite, they may be held liable. Landlords. Yes, landlords can be held liable as well. Most people are shocked to hear this, but Maryland landlords can sometimes be responsible for dog bites that happen on their rental properties. This isn't automatic, but here's when they could be held liable. If the landlord knew or should have known that a dangerous dog was living on the property, and they could have done something about it, but didn't, they can be held liable. Imagine this. A tenant moves in with a large, aggressive dog and tells the landlord, "Don't worry, he's friendly," but then the dog starts showing signs of aggression and the landlord knows. Maybe it chases neighbors, maybe it goes after kids in the neighborhood. If the landlord receives complaints and ignores them, for example, or lets the dog stay without checking up, they might end up being at least partially responsible if that dog attacks someone in a common area like a hallway or a courtyard. The law expects landlords to keep their properties safe. So if they look the other way after learning about a dangerous animal, they can be sued, especially if the bite happens in public or shared spaces. If you were bitten in a hallway, laundry room, or the front steps of an apartment building, there's a chance the landlord shares in the liability. Property managers and condo associations can also be held liable. It's not just landlords who might be responsible. Property managers, homeowners associations, and condo associations can also face lawsuits after a dog bite. These groups are supposed to enforce the rules about pets on the property and make sure that people that are living there are safe. Picture this. You live in a condo building with rules that ban dangerous breeds or require dogs to be leashed in public spaces. A neighbor ignores those rules, walks their dog off leash, and the dog bites a guest in the lobby. If the property manager or condo association knew about the dog's behavior but never took any action, they can be part of the lawsuit. The law in Maryland says these groups have a duty to enforce their own rules and take reasonable steps to protect residents and visitors. If they drop the ball by ignoring repeated complaints, for example, about an aggressive dog, they may be held accountable in a court of law. Don't let anyone tell you, "We're not responsible, it's the owner's problem." If the group in charge of the building didn't do its job, they need to answer for it as well. Businesses or organizations that allow dogs on their premises can also be held responsible. Let's move away from homes and apartments for a second What if you're bitten at a dog-friendly cafe, a pet store, a groomer, or even a community event like Dog Day in the Park? Businesses in Maryland that invite people and their pets inside have a duty to keep customers safe. If an employee is careless, for example, letting aggressive dogs socialize off leash, or management ignores obvious risks, the businesses could be partly liable for any injuries. For example, imagine a dog bites a child in a pet store where employees allow animals to roam freely, or a cafe that ignores local leash laws. Even if the store or business didn't own the dog, they can be legally responsible. They're not just providing a service to dog owners, they're also supposed to protect guests who enter their property. The same applies to dog trainers, kennels, or even boarding facilities. If someone is paid to care for or train dogs and then leaves a dangerous animal unsupervised, they cannot dodge responsibility. Parents or guardians of young dog owners. Here's a twist people rarely think about. If a child owns a dog, or more likely the child's family does, but the dog is under the control of a minor at the time of the bite, the adult parents or guardians may be held responsible. Maryland law recognizes that kids can't always be expected to control a dog properly, especially if it's a large or excitable or dangerous dog. So if a young person is out walking their dog or is in charge at home and something goes wrong, the adult in the home can be held accountable. The law expects grown-ups to supervise not just the dog, but also the child managing the dog. For example, if a 10-year-old is left to walk a big, strong dog and can't hold on to the leash when the dog lunges at somebody, the parent is probably going to be responsible. The same goes if a group of children are left unsupervised with a family dog and it goes bites a guest. Someone who purposely provoked the dog but gets others hurt. There's one more twist. What if someone else's bad decision puts you in harm's way? Let's say a neighbor or stranger provokes a dog, teasing, hitting, or scaring it, and the dog then lashes out, bites you or your child instead. In situations like this, Maryland law may allow you to also hold the person who provoked the dog responsible, not just the dog's owner. It's not the most common scenario, but it has happened. If someone else did something reckless or mean that led to the bite, their actions could be seen as a cause of your injuries. In legal terms, they contributed to the cause of the bite. Maryland courts look at the full picture, not just who owns the dog. Why does all of this matter? You might be asking, why make it so complicated? Why go after anyone except the owner? Here's the reality. Dog bite injuries can be physically and emotionally traumatic, and the bills add up fast. Sometimes the dog's actual owner doesn't have insurance or the money to cover your damages, or they deny responsibility. If you want to make sure that you are fully compensated, you need to look at the full picture of everyone who might share blame and their insurance policies. By knowing that Maryland law recognizes responsibility beyond the owner, you get more options and a better chance of being made whole. It's not about being unfair. It's about making sure that the people who could have prevented the bite are held accountable. What should you do next if you've been bitten? If you or someone you care about has been bitten by a dog in Maryland, don't assume there's only one path forward. Take these steps. Get immediate medical care, even if the injury seems small. It's incredibly important. Take photos of the injuries, the dog, and the scene. Write down everything you remember: who owned the dog, who was watching it, where it happened, and who else was present. Find out if the property is rented, who manages the building, and what the rules about pets in that area. If it happened at a business or event, get the name of the manager and any witnesses. Then, reach out to a Maryland attorney who actually knows dog bite law. These are complex cases. The sooner you get legal advice, the better your chances for a fair recovery. Don't wait. Your rights depend on taking action. Maryland has time limits for these claims, and evidence can disappear very quickly. The more details you gather right away, the easier it is to show who is truly responsible, whether that's the owner, the harbor, the keeper, the sitter, the landlord, or somebody else. Remember, you don't have to figure this out by yourself. If you're worried about bills or feel overwhelmed by the process, help is available. Protect yourself and your family. All right. So today you learned that after a dog bite in Maryland, responsibility might go far beyond just the owner of the dog. We covered how dog walkers, landlords, property managers, business owners, parents, and even people who provoke a dog can all play a role and might be held liable for your injuries. Now here's another big question I get asked all the time. Can I still recover from my car accident if the at-fault driver has no insurance? You do not want to miss this topic. Your rights and financial future could depend on it. Click to watch Can I Still Recover from My Car Accident If the At-Fault Driver Has No Insurance, and get the facts you need to make smart decisions. See you right there.